What's up, everyone? This is Roz, and this is going to be another episode of the ongoing series, The Story of My Life for Roz Jr. In the event that something ever does happen to me, I want him to be able to see his dad and hear stories about his family, where he came from, etc. The last video I did was about 6, 7 months ago, and that video took a lot out of me to just do that video in general. And I want to continue doing these, and I want to start doing them more frequently. But emotionally, a lot of the stuff I need to talk to you about is stuff that emotionally hurts me. And when it hurts me, I can't deal with it for quite a while afterwards. So I'm trying, but I can't guarantee that I'm going to continue doing this. Over the last few months, I've been thinking a lot about what I should talk about, what I shouldn't talk about. Some of the things that I wanted to talk about where I still haven't decided if I want to, and that's about some of my exes. And I feel that I should include the stories of some of them just so you understand what your dad went through, why your dad's the way he is, and why I have been on my own for as long as I have. But I don't think that's what this video is going to be. This video here is going to be pretty rough, and we're going to talk about your cousin George and what happened there. And there's a lot of subject matter here that's going to be hard to digest, and I want to talk to you about him to let you know that the struggle between your dad and him wasn't always there, and the fact that we started to mend the fence weighs on me a lot. Last weekend, it was May 17th, and it was the first, what would have been his 23rd birthday. And your Aunt Shannon had this party, and you were there, but I don't think you truly understood what was going on. We went to the graveside. Shannon gave three vials of George's ashes to Will, Cody, and Tyler. Now, I don't know Will, and according to Shannon, he was one of George's friends. Cody and George used to date, and Tyler and George were engaged, and that's what basically. Let's just start at the beginning, okay? Um, George was a normal baby, little chubby, chunky baby. He was one of my nephews, and with my sister and her, I guess the fathers of her children. Um, it wasn't like Jeremiah, where Jeremiah's dad was not in the picture all the time. Not to say that he wasn't in the picture, he just wasn't in the picture all the time. George's dad was in the picture a lot, and a lot of George's problems came from the fact that his dad was in the picture. When Shannon and him, or George's dad, got divorced, there was a lot of turmoil that was going on. Um, a lot of things that happened, like that was going on, was Bill spent money hand over fist. Like as soon as he got his paycheck, he was broke within a day. Um, they didn't have heat in their house. He was very controlling of my sister. Um, he was very mentally abusive towards the kids. And my sister had had enough, and she got divorced. Around the same time, I had made The really bad decision, I should have gotten Kleenexes before I started this video. I apologize. Um, I had made the really bad decision to go off and rush into a relationship with somebody, and I will probably talk about this at great length at some point, but I'm not going to talk about it now. Anyway, when I was rushing off into this relationship, I had a moment of clarity, like, hey, this isn't gonna. This. What if this doesn't work? What am I gonna do? So I gave the option to Aunt Shannon that she could live in my house. So someone was occupying my house that I knew while I went off and ended up getting married. 6 months after my marriage, after the wedding, my now ex-wife asked me to move out. She wanted a divorce. Uh, she felt that we moved way too fast. That was the official story she told me to begin with. And then she started to tell me a bunch of other stuff that was going on, and then I pieced a lot of other stuff together. The fact that, she was, let's just put it this way, when it comes to my ex wife and I was having significantly less sex in that relationship than she was. So, anyhow, long story short, I'm homeless. I don't want to be in this house with her. I need somewhere to live. Aunt Shannon let us move back into my house. And we lived together in this house for 2 years. And during that time, George did a bunch of like things that he shouldn't have done. Um, I'm not going to sugarcoat the things that he did. I'm going to flat out tell you what he did. He made a email address on his brother's school computer and then joined a gay dating site and then was hooking up with adult men, 27, 28-year-old men on there. This was a big problem because, George was 15 at the time. And it was right around this time that me and George started to butt heads. About a year later, um, I had asked George to do something, and he snapped at me, and I'm like, you don't need to have an attitude about stuff. And he started, you're not my dad, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, this is my fucking house. I don't have a lot of rules, but if I tell you to do something in my house, I expect you to do it, especially when I'm an adult and you're a minor. And I know you and I, Roz Jr., butt heads about this a lot, but you're pretty good about listening to me. George was not. And a couple of moments in time, it got violent between us. He swung, he hit me. I called the police. He was in handcuffs in this house a couple of times. I didn't want to ever press charges against the kid. I just wanted to have him scared shitless by being put in handcuffs. But he came when the police showed up, he was just as belligerent to the police as anybody else. And it was getting to the point where I could not physically live in my house with him. My sister and I got into somewhat of a fight over it, and she decided to move out. My nephew, his older brother Jeremiah, made the comment, well, I guess Uncle John's not going to be the one that throws George out into the street. It's going to be me. And George had a lot of problems, okay? It wasn't that he had a lot of problems, okay? I want to say he had this all growing up. He did not respect authority. He would fight with people. He would start doing things just randomly that would cause chaos. I had to pick him up at school a couple of times because he got suspended from school for bad behavior multiple times. Um, it was just how he was. He rebelled against all authority all the time. After George and Shannon moved out, eventually I figured whenever George moved out, me and him would never speak again. I told you that whenever they moved out that you and I would probably never speak to him again. And It happened one day. One day I ran into him at Walmart and I just casually said hi. And I'm not gonna say it was a planned thing. It was a it was a automatic response to seeing somebody I knew. Most of my job is talking to people, so whenever I see somebody, especially somebody I knew, I say hi to them to create a friendly customer atmosphere. And I just go on autopilot, and especially if I see somebody I know, I just kind of blurt it out. And I just happened to say, "Oh, hi, George," and he's like, "Oh, hi." And I asked, "Is like how's things going?" He's like, "Not bad, blah blah blah, doing Christmas shopping." Like, "Oh, that's cool, blah blah blah." Well, I'm gonna go back to work, and as I see you, and I walked away. A couple days later, Shannon calls me and asks me what I want from George for Christmas. You could have knocked me over with a feather at that point. Our relationship had been so strained at that point that I never thought we'd talk again. And George, even though we were rebuilding our relationships, would still piss me off at almost every family event. He would go off on tangents about everything. Like he would start talking about religion and stuff. And every time George started talking about religion, I got very defensive about it because a lot of the stuff I saw George do, I saw him do from a showman's point of view. I don't know how to describe that any better than that, but I saw a lot of flash and flare, but no real substance when he was talking a lot of the time. And a lot of the time, I felt that he would do things just to try to get reactions out of people. Um, and sometimes he did. Like sometimes he would try to get a reaction out of me, and I would ignore it because the best way to deal with somebody who wants attention is to ignore them because it's going to piss them off more. Um, but yeah, we slowly were rebuilding our relationship, and when September rolled around, I'd got myself promoted again with Walmart, and I was at training at the Hermitage store. And I was on my lunch break, and I was walking through the store, just looking around, and I saw George and Tyler, and it blew me away because one, the store's 60 miles from where I live, okay, and two, it was unmistakable seeing them because 2 weeks earlier we had a family dinner, and I was kind of ignorant to both of them because they had bright red fire engine red hair and they were wearing like matching cowboy hats, kind of dressed up like Woody from Toy Story, and all I could think of was Howdy Doody. Yeah, I know that really dates me because I know who Howdy Doody is. You may have to look that up and find out who he is, but that's all I could think about. But anyway, I saw George. I chased him down through the store. I yelled at him. And he finally, oh, hey, what are you doing here? Blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, we're shopping, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And that was the end of it. That was the last conversation I ever had with him. I talked to my dad that night, and it was just kind of weird because I found out he was living up in that area. I thought he still lived in Franklin. I mean, we were not back onto the same page where I knew where he lived and we were exchanging Christmas cards, that kind of thing. Uh, but yeah, that's where we were at. And then the next day, I would go to work, blah, 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 not a big deal. I come home that night, go to bed. I got one more day of training at the Hermitage store. And I wake up and my phone literally had 15 missed phone calls, like 30 text messages, Facebook messages all over the place. And the first ones I saw were from my dad. My phone didn't have voicemail set up, so I didn't have any voicemail coming at me. But my dad's messages on Facebook is he's like, "Hey, I don't know how much you need to know about this, but Shannon's having some problems with George, and she's really upset." Okay. And then I have this message. I see the next text message is from Shannon, and she says, "Call me when you get up. I don't care the time." So I did. So at 2 in the morning, I call my sister, and I'm right outside my bedroom. And as I said, this video is for Ross Jr., so he knows exactly where I'm at. And I'm standing in the hallway between all three bedrooms and the bathroom upstairs. And Shannon's like, "Hey, so I need you to sit down." And I'm like, "Just tell me what's going on." And she's like, "Seriously, sit down." So I did. And then she told me that George had committed suicide. The story that I have told and I accept to be happening was Tyler found that George had put his profile picture up on a dating site. And Tyler found that and confronted George about it. And George got mad and took his gun and left. Tyler freaked out, called Shannon. Shannon's calling the state police everywhere, blah, blah, blah. George drives into the state of Ohio in the parking lot of a church, of all places. Couldn't get a hold of Shannon. I think he left a note, tell Mom I'm sorry, and then shot himself in the head. He didn't make it, but it wasn't instantaneous. He was An ambulance was called. They took him to the hospital, and he was pronounced dead shortly after he made it to the hospital. There's things in life that no parent should ever experience. I watched my mom go through us losing our sister Jody. And then, as fate would have it, a month later, saw after George passed away, saw her go through it again with our brother Jerry. The grief I have seen displayed from your Aunt Shannon cannot be summed up into words. You don't know what true grief is until you see a mother kneeling at a headstone of her son with her arms wrapped around it. The celebration of life was a lot of Jason's friends and family. I knew almost nobody there that I was not related to by blood, and Jason is your Aunt Shannon's husband. Aunt Shannon, we weren't going to stay. I've been sick and I haven't been feeling good all weekend, as you guys can tell by my nasaliness. This isn't all from the tears. I got a sinus thing going on right now. Anyhow, um, as we were leaving, Shannon flagged us down and she asked if you could stay. And honestly, she needed you more that night than I did. So, this is a really rough subject to talk about and everything, but I need you to understand that things happen, and I want you to understand that this is a story that we will. Holy crap, that was terrible. That's gross. I'm sorry, people. But anyway, there's a lot of things that happen in life that we just can't control, and I just wanted you to know what had happened there because you're 11 and 12 at this time, and you don't really understand the big pictures of what's going on. And I hope to God that you never have to experience this again. Thanks for watching.